Hey, it's Steve Grant here again, and today I'm joined by Lara Rickard, dietitian, and we're speaking again on the subject of PCOS. And in this video we're going to focus on the main drivers behind PCOS. So do you want to just go into that for me?
Sure. So the two main drivers behind PCOS are insulin resistance and inflammation. But it's really important to note that there are plenty of nutritional and lifestyle factors that can cause these or exacerbate these, which we'll touch on in the next video.
Yeah, definitely. So the next video is going to be a real kind of practical, let's look at some of the nutrition and lifestyle factors that are going to drive it. In this video then, let's discuss that, because maybe people have heard of insulin resistance, but maybe they haven't. What is insulin resistance?
Sure. So insulin is a storage hormone. So what it essentially does is to help glucose, so sugar, get from the blood into the cells of the body. And when it's working well, it works really well, and that system's great. But in the instance of insulin resistance, what's happening is that the body's not getting glucose into the cells as effectively, and ultimately, through various mechanisms, this can lead to the overproduction of insulin.
So what can happen essentially, the cells themselves can become slightly dysfunctional in a sense, that they're not able to accept the glucose in, and as a result then the body then has to respond by making more insulin. And that insulin then is something that then has been associated with driving PCOS.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for that is that there's insulin itself can cause the ovaries to produce higher androgens. So that's where some of the androgens are made, so those male hormones. So high insulin can have that direct effect in causing those higher male hormones. But in addition to this, there's some link between the high insulin and sex hormone binding globulin. So high insulin tends to cause, or could, or may cause, lower sex hormone binding globulin. So
there's like a correlation between, or an inverse relationship, whereby if the insulin level is typically high, then the sex hormone binding globulin is low. And that's important because if sex hormone binding globulin is low, it means that there's potentially going to be more androgens available.
And so if we just back it up a bit with the sex hormone binding globulin, essentially it's a protein that's produced in the liver, and the most simplistic way to view it is like a bus. So as hormones are produced, they free hormones. When they get into the little bus, that's the sex hormone binding globulin, they're bound, they're taken to where they need to be within the body, they get out, go do their thing. If we've got enough sex hormone binding globulin, that's working really well. But if we have not enough of it, essentially there aren't enough buses, but there's still the same number of commuters, so the same number of free hormones that need to get around the body. So that lower sex hormone binding globulin, the higher androgens, and that's largely driven by that high insulin.
So in some people it can create an androgen dominance because of the low sex hormone binding globulin. Okay, so I think that clears up the insulin resistance picture and the relationship between insulin and androgens, and then also that component of sex hormone binding globulin and how that can affect, I guess, the levels of free androgens in the body. So the other one's inflammation, and so tell me more about that.
Sure. So inflammation acutely, so in the short term, we are all about it because it's a protective mechanism by our body. So if we injure ourselves, our body naturally upregulates our immune system to protect ourselves. We've all experienced this, like with a paper cut, where we get that paper cut, our finger gets really red and hot and tender, and that's the immune system being activated to protect us. So short term, great, but long term, so when it's happening chronically, it can interfere with various systems within the body, one of which is the hormonal system, and as a result cause imbalances within that. In the case of PCOS, we get all the imbalances with those higher male hormones.
So rather than it being an issue with an acute immune or inflammatory response like an injury or an acute illness or something like that, we're talking more about a chronic issue going on in the body, and as a result of that then tends to lead to imbalances in hormones.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. That sums up, I think, the main two drivers. So that kind of helps us understand what one, insulin resistance is, and the relationship there with androgen excess, and also with inflammation and its role in dysregulating hormones as well, which can again lead to that perhaps androgen index, which would drive that as well. So next video we're going to focus on what are the actual components of our nutrition and lifestyle that might then upset this insulin resistance or inflammatory picture.
Yes.
Brilliant.